Hi there, welcome to In the Rough with Angie. This is episode 22. So the topic I'm going to be talking about today is I'm going to be reading y'all an article that I found on WebMD because I feel like this is a really big thing right now with marijuana being legal in certain places again, and there's all these CBD stores, and I wanted to read this article about what's the difference between CBD and THC, and then kind of give my thoughts along the way as well. When I was younger, I did smoke pot, and I came out of that to follow God. And then all of a sudden, 20 years later, marijuana is becoming legal again in certain places. So I've been doing the whole battle. You can go back through my previous episodes between what is sober and are THC products okay for Christians. And so I think this article will really help to bring that topic up more. So this is from WebMD. I'll put the website in the description. You can look up this article for yourself, but I'm going to read this and then I'm going to give my thoughts along the way as I read it. So from WebMD, CBD versus THC, what's the difference? Written by Mary Jo DiLonardo. Okay, CBD versus THC. You've probably heard a lot about marijuana as more and more states legalize it. It comes from the cannabis plant, which makes a thick substance full of compounds called cannabinoids. And I may say a word wrong here and there, so just stick with me. Okay, the cannabis plant produces more than 100 cannabinoids, including the two main ones, CBD and THC, which cause drug-like reactions in your body. CBD and THC both come from the cannabis plant. THC has psychoactive properties, while CBD does not. What is THC? THC is delta 9, and then it's this big long word, tetrahydrocannabinol, the main psychoactive ingredient in the cannabis plant. It's what makes you feel high when you smoke marijuana or eat an edible, which edibles are so huge right now. Like if you're looking, to stop drinking alcohol, there's so many different advertisements, ads, websites, stores, places you can go for alternatives, and a lot of it has either CBD or THC in it. So a lot of people are saying, hey, it's okay if I get high, I'm not getting drunk anymore. But as Christians, God calls us to be sober. Why? Because he doesn't want the enemy to come after us. He doesn't want us to open up doors. So you really have to think about what sober is. So it's kind of a gray area for Christians to talk about, like, what's okay, right? Like how much drinking is okay. Is the THC ingredient even allowed for Christians, right? In certain quantities. And that's something I have been asking myself this summer and researching, like, is it okay to have 1 can of THC with some other herb or some other thing to help for relaxing and it doesn't make you high? Like, what's okay for the Christian? What's okay for me personally? What do I feel God is convicting me of? So marijuana and other THC products are considered Schedule 1 controlled substances by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency. This means that the DEA considers them to have a high likelihood of being abused and no current medical use, despite marijuana being legal in some cities and states, including for medical purposes. So, okay, here's something to think on. There is the ability to abuse THC, and that goes into kind of like addiction, right? People say that THC, marijuana is not addicting, but the truth of the matter is, I believe it is, because it can take over your life. And you want to use it every day, and then you use it in higher quantities, and it's just kind of like playing Russian roulette. Even though it's this gray area, it still is, you don't always know the percentages of this ingredient that you're getting. You don't know who's producing it. You don't know what they're adding to it. So there's so many variables. Different people respond to different ways, right? So THC comes in 3 common forms: herbs or flowers, hashish, and hash oil. The herbal variety is the most popular. It's made from dried cannabis leaves and flowers or buds, which you smoke or add to foods or drinks. Hash is a solid or paste-like substance that's made by compressing or purifying the resin from the buds. Hash oil, the most potent form, is made when the resin in hash is extracted into its purest form. Okay, now let's talk about CBD. That's THC. CBD is short for cannabidiol. It's also made from the cannabis plant. CBD is related to THC, but it's not psychoactive, so it doesn't make you high like THC does. CBD is easier to find in the U.S. than THC, but each state has different laws and restrictions on selling CBD. CBD comes in many forms, including oils, extracts, patches, vapes, and topical lotions, and it's said to have various health benefits. So I've actually used a CBD lotion for pain management, and I feel like it does help, but I don't feel like it's as quick as Bengay, slap some Bengay on it. Okay, anyways. It's also the active ingredient in Epidiolex, the first medication made from a marijuana ingredient approved by the FDA to treat epilepsy. Where do CBD and THC come from? CBD and THC both come from the same species of plant, Cannabis sativa, but there are major differences between the two. CBD usually comes from the hemp plant, which is also a type of cannabis plant. Hemp contains very little THC, usually less than 0.3%. Cannabis plants with THC concentrations greater than 0.3% are considered marijuana. THC and CBD come from the resin on the leaves and the buds of the female cannabis plants. CBD also comes from the flowering heads of the hemp plant. Synthetic cannabinoids, also known as synthetic marijuana, spice, or K2, are manufactured chemicals that mimic the high of THC. The psychoactive ingredients have different effects than THC and can cause serious reactions. Okay, this is a big point to bring up. Because yes, there is fake THC, right? There are things that you can get that's fake that will make you high, but that are super dangerous. And that's why I say a lot of times it will be sold to younger kids, teenagers, people just, receiving anything that they get, right? To be able to get high or to have a good time. And it can be super dangerous. In your younger years, it's harder to think that something could hurt you, right? Like you maybe feel more like free-spirited and like you're invincible and nothing can harm you. But the truth of the matter is there is some really dangerous things that people are selling that mimic THC and CBD, but is actually a synthetic and is very harmful. So let's talk about CBD. This says CBD versus THC chemical structure. CBD and THC have the same molecular formula, 21 carbon atoms, 30 hydrogen atoms, and 2 oxygen atoms. But the way the atoms are arranged is different, which is why they have distinct chemical properties and unique effects on your body. Both affect the way your brain cells communicate with each other. How CBD and THC affect the body. THC and CBD make you feel different when you use them. Here's how. Okay, CBD effects. Scientists have identified several molecular targets in your body that can be affected by CBD, but we're still not sure exactly how CBD works. Researchers think it slows down signals to your brain, lowers inflammation in your brain, and changes the level of calcium in your brain cells, which plays a role in communication between cells. Okay, side note. So when all these stores started opening up CBD and THC, I was convicted not to try the THC, but I thought CBD was okay because it wasn't something that can get you high. So anyways, you hear in more episodes that then I did try some THC products, how that went, and now where I'm at on that. So anyways, one serious issue with CBD products is what else they might contain. Most aren't regulated by the FDA, so nobody can guarantee their purity. Okay, that's a big thing too, right? Like even if you're getting something that's with CBD doesn't mean that it's not going to affect you in a negative way because you don't know exactly what could be added to it. Most aren't regulated by the FDA, so nobody can guarantee their purity. One study on CBD products found that more than 25% contain less CBD than was listed on the label, and some also contain THC. This could cause you to have a false positive result on a drug test. The FDA has issued several warnings to companies that market these products and says you should beware before you use them. THC effects. THC in marijuana stimulates the parts of your brain that respond to pleasure. It also releases your body's feel-good hormone, dopamine, giving you that relaxed, euphoric feeling. The amount of THC in marijuana varies. The higher the level, the higher its potency, and the more effects it has on your body and brain. Today's marijuana plants are stronger than ever. The average strength of THC in marijuana is 15%. Up from about 4% in the mid-1990s. Okay, so this is something else I was going to say. When I was younger and using THC the smoking way, like that was at 4%. Now, the things that are out are 15%. So that's even if you're getting like a gummy to fall asleep. I noticed when I tried some of these products, especially I tried one for sleep. It made me super high and not in control anymore. And it was supposed to put me to sleep, but that thing woke me up. And I was like, okay, this is my last time, I think, trying this out. This is not what it said that it's going to do. It said it's going to relax me and put me to sleep. No, it woke me up and I could have been up for hours and I'm not saying it's not fun, but I'm saying it can be absolutely dangerous. Okay, so these higher levels could have some mental health effects on users, including hallucinations, illusions, psychosis. Okay, let's talk about hallucinations for a second. So back in high school, when the percentage was, like they're saying, about 4%, to now where it's about 15%, even on 4%, there was one time that I was with my friends and we were smoking in one of my friends' kitchens, and just out of the blue, I fell backwards and then I started seeing things, right? To them, I blacked out. So I had blacked out. They were super worried about me. And I just remember seeing all these crazy things and then waking up and my friends are surrounding me, kind of freaking out. So then it happens a second time and then I get back up and I walk to the couch and everything's fine. And that has been in the back of my mind is that was strange to me because the only thing we had, right, was just some regular marijuana at the 4% of what they're saying at that time. And now that percentage is higher. And so just don't think that just randomly it couldn't happen to you because it never happened before, or you think you know what you're doing, or you think you know the percentages, all that stuff. It can happen to anybody, and that is a definite danger, right? And next, delusions, there's psychosis. Okay, so I will write this down too so you can watch this if you want to, but there is a YouTube channel, Texas Pictures Documentaries. And I was watching it. It's Javonte's story. It was episode 2. And it talks about how this man got cannabis-induced psychosis. So what happened to him was him and his girlfriend went to one of these stores that's where it's legal to get the marijuana. And they put it in a bong and they took one hit each. She just had a normal reaction. He, on the other hand, the most mellow person normally, right? He started freaking out. He thought he was entering hell. They went through hours of him just freaking out. And then at the end of it, he blacks out, but he's still doing stuff, which is called, I guess, psychosis. He ends up shooting his dogs and his girlfriend. Now that's super extreme, right? But that's an example. I had never heard of that stuff happening before. And to think that it could happen with something that they just got at a store, that should be legit. And the reactions for different people can be different. So just because something hasn't happened to you using these products doesn't mean something can happen to you, right? You just never know what these higher levels could have on our mental health. Okay, moving on. CBD versus THC benefits. People take CBD and THC in hopes of relieving a wide variety of physical and mental health symptoms. So this, for me, I've noticed I have tried some drinks with THC that just kind of did relax me and don't make me high and keep me sober. So I do think it's possible, and I haven't convinced myself that all of it is bad all of the time, right? But I still am more on the side of this is like Russian roulette with these products. That is my personal opinion, and that is through my own personal use in my past. Okay, so while more studies are needed to understand it, some research suggests that CBD may help conditions such as anxiety, inflammation, nerve-related pain. When it comes to THC, researchers are looking into whether it could be a treatment for muscle stiffness and spasms from MS or ALS. And this is why I don't judge anybody for using it for medical reasons, right? Because there's so many different medications out there to help with so many different things. And if somebody's in excruciating pain and this is the thing that helps them, who am I to know whether or not God had that for them? I don't know. But at the same time, I'm like, it doesn't seem like it's fitting. Like it doesn't seem like the way. Okay. But also chronic pain or nerve pain, epilepsy or seizures, Parkinson's disease, tremors, nausea, glaucoma, appetite stimulation for people. I will also note that if you overdo it and you go about using THC products for years, it actually can have the opposite effect, and you can actually lose your appetite and create a lot of different other health issues for yourself. So this says it helps with appetite stimulation for people with HIV or AIDS. Okay, agitation and Alzheimer's disease, Crohn's disease, symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, I've also heard that it can trigger PTSD in some people, that while they're claiming that it may help with PTSD, it can also trigger it. But research on marijuana is difficult in the US because of strict regulations. As it's still a Schedule I drug, scientists must follow DEA rules or face fines. CBD versus THC for anxiety. Some studies suggest that CBD may help reduce anxiety-like behavior in animals, but we need more research to know whether this response applies to humans. A small study did find that participants who used CBD had improved sleep and anxiety, but a larger study is needed to confirm the findings. One study compared medical marijuana, CBD, and a placebo, fake treatment, for treating anxiety in veterans with PTSD. The research found that all three groups had significant improvement in their symptoms, but the benefits for those who got THC or CBD were no better than for those who got neither. Another study found that lower doses, and I'm sorry I'm not looking like directly in the camera, but I'm reading this. The benefits for those who got THC or CBD were no better than for those who got neither. Another study found that lower doses of THC appeared to decrease anxiety in some users, but higher doses can make other users more anxious. 1000%. I agree with that. CBD versus THC side effects. Okay, so smoking or consuming THC can cause problems with concentration, judgment, and memory. Yes, dizziness, and I've heard people say this when they take edibles, they can't take them anymore because maybe they were using them for sleep, but now they just like get dizzy spells when they take it. So yes, absolutely can cause that. Breathing problems, yes. Fast heart rate, nausea and vomiting, drowsiness, loss of balance. Side effects from CBD can include nausea and diarrhea. Alrighty, moving on. Oh, there's more. Upset stomach, tiredness, lightheadedness, crankiness, low blood pressure. CBD can also change the way some medicines work. Be sure to talk to your doctor if you take CBD or THC. CBD versus THC legality. Laws and regulations are changing all the time on cannabis, marijuana, and CBD. CBD that's made from hemp is legal at the federal level, and it's also legal in most states, though many have restrictions. And let me remind you that it doesn't mean that because it's legal that it could not harm you, right? Many states allow marijuana either for medical or recreational use. But as far as the federal government is concerned, it's illegal in the U.S. As of April 2023, 38 states, 3 U.S. territories, and the District of Columbia have legalized medical marijuana. People in these states can use THC with a prescription, but the FDA hasn't approved CBD or THC to treat most conditions. It has only approved Epidiolex for certain seizure disorders and 2 synthetic cannabis drugs, dronabinol, marinol, syndrose, and nabiline sesamet, which are prescribed mainly to control nausea caused by chemotherapy. A review is underway that could change how marijuana is classified under federal law. In August 2023, the Department of Health and Human Resources sent its recommendations to the DEA, which has the final say. CBD versus THC FAQs. What's the difference between THC and CBD? Both CBD and THC are compounds found in the cannabis plant. THC is psychoactive, which means it changes how your brain works. It's the ingredient in marijuana that makes you feel high. CBD isn't psychoactive, so it doesn't make you high. What's the difference between hemp, CBD, and THC? Hemp is a type of cannabis plant that contains less than 0.3% THC, the natural compound that makes you feel high. Cannabis plants with concentrations of THC above 0.3% are often called marijuana plants. CBD usually comes from hemp, but it can also come from marijuana plants. Okay, so that's something that's good to know if you do decide to try any of the edibles for like sleep or relaxation, or all the ads out that like have this drink instead of a glass of wine, right? All these things that are promoted to just help you relax. That doesn't involve alcohol, which is good, but at the same time, it could be even more destructive in my opinion. So please put your comments. I would love to hear what your thoughts are relating on this topic. Are you a Christian? Are you not a Christian? Like what, and how does that relate to how you view this topic, right? How do you view these substances? And do you think they're beneficial? Do you think they're harmful? Have you had any experiences with them? I would love to hear that, because this has been just like such a big thought on my mind this summer, is just trying to seek God on it, but at the same time, like looking at the facts of it and just an understanding, right? So thank you so much for listening. I will see you next time. Bye.